back, everyone! Oh, man, let me get a good look at you all. Oh, you're a sight for sore eyes. It feels like I haven't seen you in forever. I'm just kidding. This is a pre-recorded video. I'm still on vacation. No, I'm not. I'm home. Or am I? See? Now you don't know anything. Now I'm making you second-guess everything. Am I really home? Am I still in California? Did I even exist to begin with? Yeah, absolutely. I'm kidding. I'm home. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Barry for watching over the house while I've been gone, watering the plants and such, watering Potter, the potted plant. We also have staples of the Tekking101 channel to welcome me back, like Turtle Duck and Shiny Espeon and Bottomless Hole! I never thought I would miss that Bottomless Hole, but I did. Do you know there's not a single hotel or Airbnb I stayed at that had a bottomless hole? I know, it's just weird state of the world. Anyway, also welcoming me back is the life-size statue of Nico Robin that I always keep off to the camera to my left. Which, okay, I don't own that, but I could. I mean, do I? Ooh, who knows? And even if I didn't own that, it's just a matter of time. Anyway, let's talk about One Piece. Let's do that, right? And I actually picked the perfect time to come back from my trip because last night I saw that there was a message from Oda that a few people translated. Artur translated it, so make sure to go check out his Twitter in the Library of Ohara and everything. So let me just start off by reading you that. I mean, that's a great way to kick it all off. We're still on the break month, of course, which worked out great because I was able to take that vacation to Anime Expo and then travel all over California. Half of Yosemite was on fire, but other than that, it was a beautiful trip. Got to see the Golden Gate Bridge at San Francisco. I'll go more into my trip probably like in a live stream later. I'll go into more detail of everything that I actually did. But for right now, yeah, let's read this message because there's some very interesting stuff here. Okay. Back when I was a kid, there was a certain vision I had in mind. I want to draw a manga where the finale is its highest peak. Wonder if I could pull that off. Now then, just for a little more, the Wano Country saga will be wrapping up. After a long time, the preparations are finally done. It's sort of like Oda's turning into a mad scientist here a little bit. The preparations have been completed for me to create the greatest pirate-themed shonen manga ever! You know, I started making this manga back in the 90s, creating the perfect combination of a straw hat wearing rubbery protagonist and a swordsman and a sexy navigator and a sexy archaeologist and a sexy cyborg and a sexy skeleton that's also a musician and a sexy cook with an eyebrow and a bunch of other sexy characters. And now finally the time has come for me to culminate into the greatest climax of One Piece. All right, I'm going off a little bit of the script here. After a long time, the preparations are finally done. It only took 25 years. Lol. Even though you're reading it from here, even though if you start reading it from here on, it's totally okay. No, it's not okay. You need to go back and read. If you haven't read One Piece yet, and you're seeing all this information for the final saga getting started, okay, no. You cannot just pick up, you can't skip over 1,000 chapters and then get right to the end, okay? Look, I've done that before too. When I got Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows way back in 2007, did I read the whole damn book? No, I just skipped to the end to see what would happen and see if Harry died, okay? But this is a series where you cannot do that, all right? You need to go, and you need to read this, all right? This. You read all of that, and then maybe we'll talk, okay? Yes, from here on, though, we're getting to the One Piece! I'll be drawing every single secret in this world I've been hiding up until now. It'll be fun. Please fasten your seatbelts. I look forward to it. Damn straight. Fasten your seatbelts, everybody. I don't have seatbelts. What? This gaming chair doesn't have seatbelts! Am I gonna be okay? It's like you get on a roller coaster. It's like, welcome to the One Piece roller coaster. Fasten your seatbelts. There's no seatbelts. Yeah, we know. Alright, well, that was insane. Okay, so that got a lot of people hyped, and I think that was the whole point of the message for Oda to reveal that. I wouldn't be surprised if his editors or some higher-ups at Shueisha was just like, hey, Oda-sensei, can you just write, like, a really, like, nothing really revealed in the letter itself, but just to get people really excited for the final saga. And Oda's like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's like, I will reveal every secret in this story. And yeah, that'll do it right there. So let's just talk about that for a moment, because there's something very interesting that Oda put in this letter. And he says that, you know, this is kind of the point he's been waiting for in One Piece for all those years now, okay? He wanted to draw, it sort of implies like Oda, like way back in his like younger years when he was just starting to, you know, draw manga, maybe even before that, when he decided he was going to be a mangaka, he was like, I want to make a story that's like super long and takes forever, but then the finale is actually worth the wait. You know, it actually lives up to all of the buildup, okay? Because if you break One Piece down into just two sections, it's the buildup and then the reveal, okay? This is it. This is the final saga or final arc or whatever you want to call it, okay? The Straw Hats are going to Laugh Tale eventually. This is the moment where everything is wrapped up. So we're no longer in the phase of the story where Oda has to be careful about like, oh, I have to, you know, remember back when he was doing the Odin flashback, and he even said, I think in one of the SBSs or one of the interviews, he says like, I have to be careful not to reveal too much during this flashback. I might accidentally reveal what the One Piece was. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. It's just like, I have to reveal everything. This is the moment where everything is revealed, okay? And let's talk about how that's handled, all right? Because there's a lot of other manga out there that have lasted a very long time. Maybe not all quite as long as One Piece has, but have lasted a very long time. And I feel like the final saga, the culmination, the big reveal moments for all of the mysteries in the story, a lot of them have fallen short, you know, because this is something we've been waiting for years and years and years. At least here with Oda, it seems to imply like this is what he was waiting for since the very beginning. This wasn't something like, yeah, I'll just make stuff up as I go, and then at the end I'll just throw some explanation together and put a nice bow on it. No, it seems like, no, Oda knew the reveal of all this from the very beginning. He knows all about the Will of D and what the One Piece was itself, and about the ancient weapons, and about the ancient kingdom, and everything else that's ancient, and how all the characters tie into all this kind of crap, right? Everything, Joy Boy and Poseidon and everything like that. Like, he knew all of that stuff from the beginning. It's just taken us a quarter of a damn century in order to get to this point, right? But I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about how other series have handled the big reveals and payoffs, and there's a few different routes they can usually take. The one route that they can go with is there's a reveal moment, but it seems rushed or expedited, or rather it's like you go through the whole damn story and then you get to the end and they run into like one character that just kind of explains everything really fast, okay? Now this could be for a number of reasons. It could be maybe the mangaka didn't think that far ahead, and by the way, it's not just limited to manga here. This could be a book. I think we've all read books before where we're like, man, how is the author going to wrap all this up? And like, there's only like 50 pages left. How's this going to go, right? And yet they do, sometimes to greater effect than others. But yeah, so I don't think we have to worry about that in One Piece. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be revealed like through, you know, show us rather than telling us. The Straw Hats, like, I think like the different aspects of what we need to know about, like the devil fruits, for example, Vegapunk will most likely explain that. That will probably be an exposition-heavy reveal, because it's something involving, like, science and stuff, right? So, I don't know if the Straw Hats are ever going to meet Vegapunk, or maybe it's like Smoker and Tashigi go to meet Vegapunk, and Vegapunk explains to them, and therefore us, you know, this is devil fruits, and this is how they function, and this is where they come from. That might be a more rote sort of scientific explanation on what they are, okay? But when it comes to things like the Void Century, and the ancient weapons, and the ancient kingdom, and the Will of D, and Joy Boy, and everything like that, I think that's going to be told through a long-form flashback where we don't just, you know, somebody doesn't just sit down and explain it. Like, that might be the framing device for it. Like, Robin is the one that actually sits down and reads the Rio Poneglyph to the Straw Hats, so it's through her words that the Straw Hats find out about it, but then Oda just cuts to the flashback, and so that's how we learn about it. And I think that's one of the main reasons One Piece works so well. It's, a lot of it isn't just telling us in long, giant, you know, Yoshihiro Togashi-esque pages where it's more of a light novel of just this is how it works. It's usually done through flashback, okay? And so Oda does flashbacks exceedingly well, so that's probably the way it's going to go down there, okay? So I don't think we have to worry about that. I don't think we have to worry about getting to, like, you know, oh man, there's only 5 chapters of One Piece left and we don't know anything. And then the Straw Hats just run into Panda Man or something and just like, hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Panda Man. Well, yeah, time for me to reveal all the secrets of the One Piece world in 2 chapters that are giant blocks of text. And just like, no. I think Oda is going to space it out in a way that's going to work, and he's going to convey that information in a way that works pretty well. What are some other ways that things could be revealed? The convoluted, that's one. I was a little sick when I was on my trip. You know, there were a few days there where I couldn't really do much of anything. My throat was completely dead. And I decided to reread Toriko, which is one of my favorite manga, okay? And so I was rereading the latter half of Toriko, and I'm like, holy crap, does this plot get convoluted? Like, really? Like, seriously, it goes in directions where it's like, wait a second, how does this work again? And the explanations are sort of in a way that's like overly confusing, okay? And so I started to think about it sort of like Inception-esque in a way, where it's just like, you know, it doesn't really need to make sense. Let's just make it super complicated and convoluted and sort of confusing. So, you know, then it seems like it's super deep, but in reality, you might just be throwing a bunch of shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, and you're just going with all of it, you know what I mean? So I really hope we don't go down that direction with it. Like, I don't know, we find out that, like, Vegapunk explains what devil fruits are, and he's like, did you know devil fruits actually came from an alien world? And it's like, I'm listening. Yes, a meteor crashed down to Earth about 10,000 years ago, and then these bacteria emerged from the crater, the midichlorians, and the midichlorians grew a devil fruit tree. Interesting. And the way the midichlorians interact with the human cells, it's like, interesting, I see. You know, it's like there's ways you could go about it where you can make it way more convoluted than it needs to be. I used midichlorians as an example because when that happened in the Star Wars universe, and I'm not even a huge fan of the Star Wars universe, it's okay, but even I'm just like, you know, the Force did not need to have this weird, like, there's bacteria that do it. It's just like, you know, so there's ways that Oda could do this where it could be very convoluted, and like it's like devil fruits come from a parallel dimension, so when the dimensions merge and cross over, that's when the different souls of each other, you know, he could make it like that, but I don't think it's going to be like that. I don't think it's going to be overly convoluted. To use a flip side of that coin, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Araki, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm also not, like, a way into, like, JoJo's, you know, universe and everything like that. I've read up to, like, part 6. But the idea that I get from it is that Araki sort of kind of implied that there was a meteor that hit the Earth, and then it was out of that meteor that, like, introduced stands into the world, like a virus or something, and that's where stands come from. But he was very, very vague with it. He didn't go into greater detail on exactly what it was or anything. I think Araki just said that, like, yeah, there was a meteor that fell to Earth a really long time ago, and that's where the stand arrows come from, and that's where stands come from, and then that's kind of it. And the whole point of JoJo is that it's a bizarre adventure, so it'd be sort of antithetical to the point of the story to, like, Araki to sit down and be like, this is a 5-point presentation on where stands come from and exactly every little detail and how they operate, right? So, yeah, but that's like an opposite of that, though, where it's like the author is leaving it more up to the interpretation of the viewer, okay? Or the reader, in this case. And I don't think Oda's gonna go full-on with that. I don't think it's gonna be like, yeah, there was a tree a really long time ago and devil fruits came out of that tree. Yeah, that's all I'm giving you. You're not getting any more than that. You know what I mean? I think Oda's going to go more into detail than that, but also not going to go to the point where it's like super, super convoluted. You know what I mean? Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways that he could explain these things, but I think just keeping to what he's been doing up until now through you know, a little bit of plot exposition is fine. Like when the Straw Hats, like if they do meet Vegapunk, or if the dragon does show up and Dragon explains some things, like that's fine because those characters need to reveal their past anyway. Garp is a good example of that as well. I was actually be great to start off this final saga with just having Garp show up, and then maybe not Garp like meeting the Straw Hats, but we just see Garp and then we just like dive into his flashback, and his flashback, Garp's past, is sort of the keystone that opens up like everything, because we learn a little bit about the Will of D, we learn a little bit about Dragon, we learn a little bit about God Valley, we learn a little bit more about Roger, we learn a little bit more about the Celestial Dragons, if it is that old theory that like Dragon's wife, Luffy's mom, was a Celestial Dragon. So maybe there was a connection there to Garp as well, you know, like, so Garp is actually sort of a linchpin here, where his flashback could be served as like opening the gates of all of this stuff that Oda is talking about, okay? That would be actually a really great way to do it. Sort of like how in Yu-Gi-Oh!, rest in peace Kazuki Takahashi, I gotta make a video about him as well, but sort of like how in Yu-Gi-Oh!, where right before we got to the final saga of Yu-Gi-Oh!, where they go to Egypt and the Millennium World and everything, how did we kick off that arc? We kicked it off with Grandpa, you know, Solomon's backstory, you know, the actual backstory to him finding the tomb, finding the Millennium Puzzle. That whole story was revealed right before we got to the final arc. Something like that involving Dragon or, you know, Garp or Sengoku or just like a really old character would be great. You know, something like that would be fantastic. And the number one character that should be more interested in this than any of the other characters, and the one that one of my favorite characters in the entire story, is of course Robin. All right, to the point where originally I was going to name this video, like I was going to put the thumbnail as like all secrets revealed, and Robin's there looking shocked, and I changed the thumbnail because I thought people would be looking at that thumbnail and being like, oh, all of Robin's secrets are finally revealed? What's her favorite color? What's her favorite food? What is her bra size? Actually, none of those are secrets. We know the answers to all of them. Her favorite color is violet, her favorite food is just sandwiches, and her bra size is 100 centimeters. Yeah, those are none of those secrets. But you know what I mean? Like Robin, though, is the archaeologist, and she's the one that wants to discover the history of the world and the Rio poneglyphs and everything. Like, if Robin could read the One Piece story and she could read this letter from Oda, she would just, like, pick up a cup of tea and have a little sandwich next to her and just be like, I will reveal all the secrets I've been hiding up until now. Like, Oda says that, and she's just like, it's about damn time, old man. It's about damn time. How old is Oda? He was born January 1st, I think in the 70s. Oda's probably getting pretty close to 50 years old now. Holy crap, if he's not over that already. I don't know. I actually don't know how old Oda is off the cuff, but still. But yeah, I honestly think most of this stuff is going to be centralized around Robin, okay? More so than any of the other Straw Hats. I mean, obviously, you know, the Straw Hats are going to have really important things to play coming up, and I hope we do go to Elbaf to see Usopp's arc and everything. You know, Luffy has to be reunited with Shanks at some point. We have to have the epic battle with the Blackbeard Pirates and everything. But when it comes to, like, most of the weight of the world, most of the stuff that we, the fans, want to know about, none of the Straw Hats probably really care about all that. Don't really care about all that is what I mean. Like, you know, does Luffy care about what really happened during the Void Century, or about the ancient weapons, or about where devil fruits really come from, or what they really are? Luffy doesn't really care about that. Zoro doesn't really care about that. Sanji, I don't know, might care a little bit about that just because of his backstory with the Germa or something. Maybe if the Void Century or something ties back into that in some way. Jinbei, I think, would be interested in that. Yamato, I think, would be interested because it ties back to Odin stuff. But Robin would be the one that's, like, the most invested here. That's, like, this is her life's mission, is to actually discover the history of this stuff, okay? And learn about what it really all comes down to and what it really all means and everything. And why did the people of Ohara have to die? And why did Saul have to die? And why did her mother have to die? And it's like, it's all here, right? And yeah, so I think the best way, after Wano wraps up, because remember, we're not done with that arc yet, okay? We still have a few chapters left. Green Bull has to show up at the festival. I don't know what's going to happen there. We had a reveal involving Pluton and Sukiyaki and Robin, so we got to reveal a little bit more about what happened there. Even so, I can't imagine there's that many chapters of Wano left. I hesitate to say an exact number, but not very many. But I think right after that, because we're going to be, it'd be interesting if we had a month-long week-long break, and then we had a few chapters to wrap up Wano, and then another 2-week break. But that might actually happen, so don't, it's just hold on, all right? Hold on to your horses. As Oda said, buckle your safety belts. We'll get there at some point, okay? But anyway, as soon as Wano is properly concluded, as soon as the curtain draws on the Wano country arc and we have the end, and then, Hiyori cues up with the shamisen like the end. All right. Next chapter after that, I think Oda should just start setting it up. We get a reveal of what Vegapunk looks like, and he begins to reveal what Devil Fruits finally are. We get a backstory with Garp. We get a backstory with Sengoku. We learn a little bit about the Void Century. Robin reveals to the rest of the Straw, like as the Straw Hats are sailing away from Wano, Robin reveals where Pluton is or what Pluton is to begin with, right? Frankie can get involved in that conversation because Pluton was something that was developed in Water 7, so we can learn a little bit more about that. Robin could finally just, okay, everybody, that was a fun adventure in Samurai Land and everything, but now we all need to sit down. I need to give you all a presentation. And everyone's like, okay. And Sanji makes sandwiches for everybody, and they're all sitting on the deck of the Sunny, and Robin takes out, like, she's like doing like a PowerPoint presentation or whatever, and he's like, Frankie, if you please. And Frankie's like, Frankie nipple projector. And it just like, and then it's like, okay, everybody, so let's recap on what we've learned on this adventure up until now. Everybody knows about the ancient weapons, right? And Luffy's just there shoving sandwiches in his face. Like, yeah, that's the thing that, like, Shirahoshi is, right? And he's like, yes, Luffy, Shirahoshi is Poseidon. It's just like Robin is like a teacher just walking the rest of the Straw Hats through every little piece of information that the fans have been, like, so interested in for years. It's like, yes, Luffy, Shirahoshi is Poseidon. Good job. You win a gold star. Okay, so the other ancient weapons, and then Robin's like, now, going on to the Will of D. Who knows about the Will of D? And Luffy's the one that, like, doesn't say anything. He's like, no, I've never heard of that before. I don't know what that is. Just like, okay, And so that would actually be really funny if Robin has to take the role of teacher and actually explain what all the stuff that we need to know about to the Straw Hats. And then it's like, okay, Yamato would be very excited about all of that. Yamato would just be like, I know, it says in the Odin's log journal that... Oh my god. But it's going to be a blast. It's going to be fun. Oda's going to do it in a way where it's not boring or rote, or it's just like, okay, we spent 25 years wanting to learn about these things, and then Oda's just like, okay, here they are. It has to be spaced out in a way. It has to be conveyed in a certain way. I have 100% faith that Oda can pull it off. No worries from me, okay? Absolutely not. And then Robin, I think, is going to be at the center of all of it. Absolutely. Let's see here. There's still so much to discuss here, though. I need to do a video just talking about, like, the new paradigm of the Yonko just in general. That video is going to go into discussing exactly, because we found out the 4 Yonko in the last chapter, but we still don't know what their individual bounties are, except for Luffy's bounty, which was revealed to be 3 billion. But we don't know if Shanks's bounty, Blackbeard's bounty went up. Buggy's bounty would still technically be 15 from when he was a warlord, but it wouldn't be, because definitely after becoming a Yonko, his bounty... Buggy has to have a bounty of, like, bare minimum 2 billion, which is insane. It's probably a lot higher than that. In fact, Buggy might have the highest bounty out of all of the Yonko, depending on the circumstances on how he became one, you know what I mean? So it might be like Buggy's at the highest, and then Shanks, and then Luffy, and then Blackbeard, unless Blackbeard also got a boost, which is very possible as well. So I need to make a video about the paradigm of all that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, I think this letter here is just to get us hyped. That's what this whole month is sort of about, just to kind of build up as much excitement for the One Piece story as possible, for when we finally get back into it, we ease ourselves in with the end of Wano. That's kind of a weird thing to say, like easing ourselves into this final saga by the conclusion, the ending of one of the greatest arcs in One Piece, and then we move on from that. It's going to be wild. But anyway, thanks for watching. It's good to be back. I got a lot more videos I got to make in the future, but for right now, let's just finish it off with jellyfish facts. Welcome to Jellyfish Facts. Jellyfish Facts. Jellyfish Facts. I love that intro. Okay, so let's just dive into the one that everybody wants to discuss. And this is the whole reason I wanted to do Jellyfish Facts from the beginning. Let's talk about the weird immortal jellyfish, okay? Turritopsis dohrnii, all right? It is a biologically immortal living thing. I'm going to repeat that again. It is a biologically immortal living thing, okay? And that is, now, okay, when I say biologically immortal, that doesn't mean like you can pick the thing up and like throw it in an incinerator or crush it in a garbage compactor and it's like, oh no, it keeps coming back no matter what. It's like the Jason Voorhees of jellyfish. It's like, no, it can still die if it's like if it's rendered enough damage or if it's burnt or if it's like devoured or killed by another species, typically other jellyfish, because it seems most jellyfish's like main predators are other jellyfish. But anyway, biologically though, it is capable of regressing its cells back to its polyp stage from its medusa stage. So its medusa stage is the mature stage, but if it gets to a point where it gets very old, or if it gets sick, or even if it does suffer a certain amount of physical damage or any other like strain on its body, then yes, its body can literally regress back to the polyp stage. And this is a process that doesn't take very long, only a couple of days, really, like 2 or 3 days. Fun fact though, it hasn't actually been seen in the wild because it would be very difficult for like a researcher to be present at the exact moment the jellyfish decides to do this. But these jellyfish have been captive and like, you know, in tanks and stuff, and we've witnessed this happening. Okay, if they just get old enough, they'll just go back to their previous polyp stage and then they'll mature again and then they can regress again, and this can go on ad infinitum. This can honestly keep going on forever. Now, it sounds really useful on paper, but remember, the jellyfish that live in the wild, there's a lot of things that can kill them, okay? So, for example, if they suffer enough damage to the point where they don't have enough time to go back to their polyp stage before the damage kills them, then they will die. If they're eaten by something, they will die. If something else happens, like, I don't know, if a jellyfish is swimming by an active volcano and it erupts, it will die, okay? So, there's a lot of things that can still kill these things in the wild, but the fact remains, it is a biologically immortal jellyfish, all right? That is insane. And so for that reason, it's obviously studied a lot to try to, like, stop the aging process or provide any sort of like idea where you could adapt this to human beings in any way to make it useful for us. It's just fascinating to think that there's a creature out there that, you know, could have this sort of function, okay? Because it's sort of a thing that we're led to understood, like death is inevitable. It will always happen no matter what. There's no point to even, you know, try to slow the death process or slow the aging process. It's just something that's going to happen. Now, that's still true because these jellyfish will not live forever. Eventually, something would probably kill them. But still, the idea that maybe we could take something from these jellyfish to extend human lifespans, like, you know, humans live what? Like, I think the average is like 80, 85 years, something like that. Maybe you're lucky if you make it to 100. But if you could figure out some way to slow the aging process in humans, or humans could live maybe, I don't know, a couple centuries, that would be cool, right? I think that would be interesting to look into. So this jellyfish might be at the center of all of it. They're found worldwide as long as it's like a tropical environment. They only exist as 5% matter. 95% of their bodies are all water. Pretty impressive stuff, actually. But yeah, and the mechanism of which they do that to go from the medusa stage back to the polyp stage is called transdifferentiation. Okay, so that's the name of that. But yeah, so there's actually... I think some other jellyfish that can sort of do this in the similar group, so we'll dive more into that later. But thanks for watching. This has been Jellyfish Facts. Tekking101 signing out. Good to be back, ladies and gentlemen.